In Final Fantasy XIV, everything is locked behind the main story quest. Been my dreaded enemy since I was a sprout, and I spent a lot of time crawling through cutscenes to try and join my friends at the best part, the endgame. To that end, I skipped a lot of fights and storyline. I've spent the past 2 years since Endwalker's finished, just going back and slowly catching up on all of the stories that I've missed. I told myself it'd be easy to catch up all at once after I finished Endwalker. Unfortunately, I underestimated exactly how much story there was to cover. How much story is there, you ask? Well, to start, there are 3 different raid series that each have 12 fights in total, plus cutscenes. Then there are 4 different Alliance raids that each feature 3 24-man dungeon-sized raids, plus cutscenes. There's 3 Triad trials that, as the name suggests, each have 3 new trials, plus kick-ass instances and cutscenes. There's role quests for Shadowbringers and Endwalker, which means that you have to level multiple jobs in order to unlock the true ending, which unlocks more cutscenes. And then don't even get me started on the entirety of Hildebrand, which is almost entirely cutscenes. And that's a lot as it is. But then you get into Beach Tribe quests, which usually have at least 3 per expansion. There's the Gathering quests for Miner, Botanist, and Fisher. There's all the different crafters. You have the Restoration quests. You've got the Blue Mage and the Phantasm Carnival and the dungeon runs that it takes to just get the stupid explosion spell that you need. There's 3 different deep dungeons. House of the Dead, Heaven on High, and some third one that I can't be bothered to look up right this second. You got variant dungeons, side quests that get you emotes, relic weapons. So many cutscenes! Maybe if I hadn't acted like I needed to catch up by the time Endwalker dropped, I wouldn't have burned out. I wish I'd played the game expansion by expansion instead of blindly rushing through the story. Maybe I would have had a lot more fun.
Has your journey been good? Has it been worthwhile?
Then, one day, a friend said she'd gotten the free trial and was checking the game out. That was when I decided that I'd go ahead with something I'd been thinking about doing for a while. Making an alt character, and giving myself a fresh start. A chance to play through the game from the beginning. So, I made plans to play with my friend, not as an overpowered veteran, but as a rookie adventurer. And honestly, this was the start of the best 500 hours I have ever had, and I did it by playing nothing but a Realm Reborn. Meet the Mora Forest Rider. She's an Elizant, fairly uncommon in a sea of transgender cat girls, but I've been on an elf kick since I got my Lord of the Rings commander deck, and I really wanted a character that looked good in big floppy hats. I made her an archer since ranged DPS get the class scale Peloton at level 20, which would make running across the continent significantly less painful. Speaking of painful, once the Mora was done, I immediately locked out. See, FF14 stores all of your macros and HUD setups as local files called bunny data. By copying the data from my main folder into Themora's, I don't have to do any of the futzing around to make things exactly the way I like them. Ah, so much better. Oh, right. I don't have that yet. Now, let's talk fashion. The cutscenes feel so much more fun when you have a look you really like, and you don't look like some god's ugly fire hydrant codpiece combo. There's a saying that goes, the real endgame in FF14 is glamour. But hey, just because it's the endgame doesn't mean you have to wait for the end of the game to have fun with it. Wink.
Feel like you don't know how winking works.
At level 15, you can talk to the smith at the end and get the brand new gear set. It's probably the best looking set you can get early on, and the stats are good enough for at least the first few dungeons, so you don't have to worry about trying to catch up on anything. Plus, you get the brand new ring, which buffs XP up to level 30. Once you add in the Friendship Circlet, Manfina's earrings, and some food I got from a vendor, it made leveling up stupid easy. And I got my gear set really early on. I got to go through the entirety of the starter quest looking like a real adventurer, and that made it feel a lot better. It made me feel a lot more immersive, not just constantly wondering, geez, I hate how those pants look. It was also around this time that I started experimenting with G-posing. I've been doing some basic stuff before, you know, like taking group shots after raid clears or capturing cool attack animations, but this is when I really got into it. In fact, most of the pictures I'm using for this video are shots that I took while I was adventuring. I hadn't planned on making a video out of this, so I'm glad I've basically made a scrapbook of all the things I was doing because these were great moments for me. I also really got into making wordless stories out of them. There's just something about having full control over models, positioning, lighting. It makes it so much easier to think of story beats or jokes to tell. I have this personal running gag where every time I go and see Jennings, I have to slap him because I just do not like him. So after I got my paladin gear, I went and I made this comic, and that was a lot of fun too. Anyways, I finished the quest line, saved the sacred tree, and took my tour in the other 3 cities. Once you're done with all the cutscenes, you get so many options for what to do next. For starters, I could finally build my glamour plates, dye my gear, visit the gold saucer, unlock the other jobs. I can overwork the NPCs in the first 3 dungeons, hire retainers that are definitely not just my main in a skin-tight outfit, and I can hang out with my friends. My friend and I met up and just hung out in the Noska, talking and killing time. We can chat anytime on Discord, but chatting in-game feels different. You have an avatar, they have an avatar, and you look at them and you go, that's not just another picture of Marcel, it's my friend. It's actually how my wife and I met. We used to hang out exactly like this before we moved in together. Now we're married, she's retired, and I'm making videos for a living. This game really is a queer pipeline. Once my friend and I cleared Ifrit, we unlocked the Grand Companies. So with Grand Companies unlocked, you can earn seals. You can use seals to buy adventures, which pay for your retainers, glamour prisms, glamour items. You can also get your first mount, so you don't have to constantly spam Peloton. But probably the most useful thing of all, you can level up a squadron. Squadrons farm manuals, which give you even more experience buffs. I mean, they can also get you like material and hits and stuff like that, I guess. But you really want the buffs. There's just one problem: how you actually get the seals. Because the squadrons are locked behind promotions, and the only way to get promoted is to turn in seals. And the best way to get seals is expert delivery turn-ins, which lets you turn in green, pink, and blue gear for seals. But also, expert delivery turn-ins are also unlocked by promotion. That really only gives you 2 options left. You've got your Grand Company hunting log, which gives you a nice chunk, but not nearly enough to get promoted. And also, it's a requirement to be promoted, so make sure you do that anyway. And then lastly, there's daily roulettes. Specifically, we get the leveling roulette, which gives us a lot of XP and a lot of seals. But we get even more seals if we fulfill the Adventure and Unique Edition. And there's no adventure needed more than tanks. Seriously, why is no one tanking? My favorite role by far, there's almost no wait time, and it's so easy to pick up and play. Plus, the armor looks damn good on Thamora. So with that in mind, I went and unlocked Gladiator. Leveling Gladiator doesn't take much time at all, since having another job that's higher level gives you an additional armory bonus. Getting promoted doesn't take long either, so you can still get the Adventure and Need bonus, even if you've already gotten the daily reward. So if we just spam leveling roulette over and over and over and over again, we very quickly get enough seals to afford the promotion. Honestly, I ended up running dungeons so much that I came up with a macro explicitly for letting the healer know, hey, I'm gonna unga-bunga my way through this whole dungeon, so let me know if you need me to slow down. Doing all those dungeons was also good for another thing: getting me all the gear that I needed to turn in. As soon as I unlocked Expert Delivery, I unloaded everything and got to promote to the next level almost immediately. And with some of the extra seals I had left over, I got my ventures so I could pay my retainers, so I could start earning more money and leveling them up too. Remember, retainers are free money, literally free. There's no downside to doing them. Grab them, get them. Which you can't really do if you're on the free trial, but like if you're already paying for the sub, do it! Do it! First thing you do every day when you log in. Just it's free money. Don't leave it on the table. So while I was running roulettes to pay for seals, pay for retainers, I finally reached the quest Self-Management. This is the waypoint where players can evolve from class to job. Upgraded Archer and Gladiator to Bard and Paladin, which I needed to unlock the best way to earn fashion early, PvP. And let me tell you, PvP gives you so much stuff. There's 2 main modes to play PvP, Crystalline Conflict and Frontline. Crystal's a lot faster because it's 5-on-5, but Frontline comes as a daily roulette, which will earn you wolf marks and crystal marks. as well as job experience. Plus, there are so many players, it's easy to get carried. All you gotta do is like put on a video essay on your other monitor and use the Bard limit break to speed up everyone who's actually paying attention.
He says, son, can you play me a memory?
The season's battle pass will get you milestone rewards like minions, portraits, hairstyles, emotes, and gear by itself, but requires consistent PvP grinding in order to earn. I don't recommend grinding Crystal Conflict unless you really like it because you will burn out. Both wolf marks and crystals can be used for special glamour items. Some of the gear that you can get includes the Garo gear, which gives you special titles if you wear them in PvP to earn a mount. You get dyeable versions of job gear that you shouldn't have access to yet. You get a ton of retro gear that actually looks kind of cool. And you also get access to a lot of orchestras, minions, and furniture. It's pretty great, actually. There's also some really cool stuff like glowy weapons, but those are ranked rewards that do require playing a lot more Crystal Conflict than I feel like doing. But don't think I don't have my eyes on them. I see you. Now, this is where things get silly. At the time, my friend and I were going through a rough patch, so we put MSQ on hold, which it was right before Titan. Oh, Company of Heroes gets me yet again. With not a lot else to do, I kept working my routine, and it was just rinse and repeat over and over again. The side effect is that the Mork got swole and really fast. How fast? Well, I finished both the Bard and Paladin quests, got their job gear, and unlocked all of the expansion jobs. I unlocked Red Mage, Samurai, Gunbreaker, Dancer, and even Sage and Reaper. Yeah, that's right. I got her to level 70 before I fought Titan, purely from doing leveling roulette and PvP. And it wasn't even like I was stacking both of those on a single job. I was doing leveling as a paladin to get the extra seals, and I was doing PvP on Bard just so I could AFK and see what the lobster was up to. By the way, shout out to my friend Mitty who went out of her way to craft the dyeable job gear for me. Made the rest of these cutscenes so much fun to watch. Suddenly gaining a bunch of levels also meant I could unlock all the other side dungeons, including Karn, Orm Vale, Wanderer's Palace. My relevant roulettes had some variety, but if that all there was to it, I think I would have just burned out again. There's only so many times you can go through Hawk Manor and think, yeah, I'm really gaming right now. That was when I decided to branch out, not into combat classes, but into gathering. I wanted something to do while I was waiting for Frontline to pop, so I picked up Botanist and Miner. My wife's been trying to get me to try them for years. Now that I've tried it, I'm surprised at how zen it feels. Going from node to node, gathering the same thing over and over again sounds boring, but it's relaxing. In fact, I was having so much fun gathering, I asked a friend to hop over to Ishgard for me to buy the level 51 gathering gear, which gave me a major stat boost, and I just kept going. Along the way, I joined a friend's FC and bought a room using some money I hopscotched over from my main account. I looked up some decorating guides for inspiration, started buying my own furniture, and then I caught some problems. The first is that furnishing a house is expensive. Even if it's just my own little room, I spent nearly every gil and still didn't have enough windows to finish my wall. Yikes. Yes, mom can buy the apartment, but she sure ain't gonna pay for the furniture. The second problem is that I've never really been into decorating. I bounce off games like Animal Crossing and Minecraft all the time because I just don't have anything I want to make at them. I don't know what I think looks good. Like, I don't know, maybe put up a mannequin, decorate it with my old gear or something. So what did I do? I got into crafting. You ever watch Wrath Games? He's been doing an Iron Man run for the past year or so, meaning he gathers all of his materials himself. I might not be that hardcore, but the thought of either making everything myself or buying only the cheaper, more accessible furniture as a sort of guideline for what I had to work with made it that much easier to work on. I put in restrictions that took the overwhelming size of the housing catalog and made it something much more manageable. It was a nice side project. It didn't have to be the focus of the game. It was something I could do on the side. It's tied to a bunch of other systems. Restriction breeds creativity, after all. So I asked my wife to teach me how to use garland tools and teamcraft, and I started making as much shit as I could. Since I was willing to take my time without rushing anything, I didn't need to spend any money unless I was buying mats from the vendor or needed monster parts like old goat leather. Even then, I can send my retainers out to hunt for mats if they're a high enough level. Hunted a whole herd to extinction before I figured that one out. I bought gear from vendors whenever I needed the stat boost, crafted my own accessories, and used all of those seals I was getting from leveling roulette to buy artisan gear, the best crafting gear you can get in Realm Reborn. Thanks to the Leave quest, I could power level the crafters to my heart's content, so long as the materials weren't too obscure or hard to get. As a quick aside, my favorite crafters so far are armor and blacksmiths, since they largely share materials and end up needing a lot of simple crafting ingredients that the other can make, like plates, rivets, ingots. Goldsmith is in there too, and it's like a neat little metal working trifecta within a network of job interconnectivity. Culinarian has a lot of advanced recipes that require so many different ingredients, and Alchemist is kind of the same, but really disjointed. Like, if you're trying to gather everything yourself, you gotta go over here and over there, maybe pop over the shroud, there's some leaves over the Noska you need. It's a goddamn mess, especially if you need, like, glue. Glue coming from fish or snails or whatever. It's just the absolute heckin' worst. Just save yourself the headache and spend the money. You'll make it all back just selling the extra materials, I promise. Speaking of making money, between gathering and crafting, I became a Gillionaire. One time I went out to mine cobalt ore while listening to one of Jesse Gender's videos and just kept collecting until the video was over. Without meaning to, I'd collected close to 4,000 ore, and I was able to single-handedly pay for my free company's workshop. It cost me just about everything that I'd made, but I did it! And I felt proud! Nothing would ever be as hard or as time-consuming on a new account than that. Ooh, what's this? Deploy submersible what? Wait, what? There were submarines in this game? Yep, in FF14, once you have a company workshop, you can start company projects. The first of which is the submarine. They work kind of like retainers in that you can send them out for long stretches of time and they come back with free materials. Some of which you can use to make new parts for your house, aether wheels, mastercraft recipes, or just sell them to NPCs for a shit ton of gil. My friend Alice gave me a list of mats I needed to craft the parts, and I shared that list with my free company, aka my friend Hera. Together we farmed all the mats, while she focused on the coke and everything else that had to be farmed with company seals, since her main account was a lot further and could afford that a lot faster. I worked on the time node and everything else that we needed in bulk. It would have been just too expensive to buy outright, like cobalt ore. Even then, the work was really slow and it took us months to get everything that we needed. So what did I do in the meantime? Fishing! Yeah, I know the meme. Hear, feel, think, fish. Botanist and miner were already leveling up very fast, very naturally, because I was working on gathering stuff for submarines. But for fishing, I wanted to try leveling exclusively through the ocean crew, which meant being sure that I could log in at the same time to catch the boat. And honestly, it was alright. I'm sure part of it's because I was still a lower level, so I didn't get to push all of the buttons that some of my other fishing friends do. It was nice to go out and try and get as many fishing points as I could. Try and hit the fishing goal. I even got the Major General. One of these days, I want to get some friends together and go have a fishing party. Like, is it the end-all be-all that everyone who's really into fishing talks about it? Yeah, I don't think so. But at the same time, it's not a bad way to spend half an hour. Plus, it gave me a reason to learn how to desynthesize. When I realized that you can't really sell fish for anything, I started taking them apart for piles and piles of sand. You know, that stuff that's rough and coarse. I didn't know that you had to level desynthesis before that. It gave me a reason to start doing treasure maps. Treasure maps are great because they give you random, high-level item gear that you can just take apart from materials and level up stuff that way. What a lot of people will do is they'll end up using their poetics to buy higher level gear, like say the level 70 Skaven gear, take them apart, and level up the synthesis that way, so that way every time they do take apart items, they can get even rarer mats. I didn't necessarily have that option. Doing a daily treasure map, which I would get from gathering, which I got while gathering all the stuff for submarines, gave me a break, gave me a chance to go out, suit up Reaper, and knock some enemies around. Plus, wouldn't you know it, through treasure maps, I realized that even though I hadn't beaten Realm Reborn yet, much less Titan, every time you do a map, you can get a grand total of 7 tomestones. Not only that, but you also get tomestones from doing frontlines. So between maps and frontlines, I'd been accumulating quite a few tomestones actually. You know what I did? I went and I treated myself to some of the best slot accessories for Bard and Paladin. That's right, I had best in slot accessories before fighting the second trial in Realm Reborn. Let that sink in for a bit. Note that I mean bets in slot for Realm Reborn, not necessarily bets in slot leading up through Endwalker. That would be incredibly silly and is legitimately impossible. Erin and I also took a break and explored Palace of the Dead for a little bit. She came with me for a 2-gal grind and we got up to floor 40, I think, before we wiped. I haven't gone back since to finish the run, partially because what I want to do is solo runs later. In fact, by the time that this video comes out, I might have started my project to stream my solo runs on Twitch at twitch.tv/HeroGirlsVT. After all of that, all of the gathering, all of the grinding, all of the leveling, all of the frontline marking, I was ready for a change of pace. I was going to do as much as possible for as long as it was fun before moving on. But there was something I needed to take care of first, and that was the latter half of Realm Reborn. When my friend and I were both ready, we teamed up and took her through her first Titan fight, then Garuda. With Garuda down, all of the tribe quests unlock, and I knew exactly which tribe I was going to work on first. Icatl 9, the Ixali tribe quest, is the crafting tribe for Realm Reborn, so it's a good way to level up crafters. At this point, I was ready to start crafting submarines, but I wanted to level up so I could use some better crafting gear and make the sub grind. Once a week, my friend and I would advance the story, dungeon by trial. The rest, I was doing as many daily tribe quests as possible. By the time we reached the Praetorium, I had finished the Ixali storyline and gotten my first ever tribe mount, even on my main account. No, I'd never done a tribe quest before, all the way to the end. And now here I was, with this good boy. I was so proud. But all good things have to come to an end. It was time for the finale. I have played the updated Praetorium and Ultimate fights hundreds of times in roulettes, but this was my first time on the new Cape Westwind. The La Habrea fights? Oh god! The fights have been like these early on. Maybe I would have enjoyed Realm Reborn so much more. Sprouts really don't know how good they've got it. One last blow, one last squeal of excitement from my friend, and we'd beaten Realm Reborn. The credits rolled, I got to hear her pog about how excited she was to finally fight Ultima, how cool the fights were, how excited she was to continue playing with her partner. I did my job. I had gotten my friend through a Realm Reborn, the sloggiest part of the game, and now she was ready to continue on her venture. For my part, I needed to get ready for Dawntrail, and that meant going back to my main and finishing all of those stories that I was still behind on. I was ready to give Thamora a rest. But first, there was something I needed to do. Something I've been waiting until the day that I cleared Ultima. I could really feel like I had cleared Realm Reborn. I got Thamora geared up, sat down, and started working on those submarines. With just the artisan's gear, I could craft the dark steel nuggets and ingots just fine. But I had to do it manually. The gear I got with my ult was level 55. The second I got there, I could switch to quick crafting. So with as many buffs as I could, I set out one dark steel nugget at a time. I unlocked muscle memory, which sped up the process quite a bit, but it still felt so mind-numbing to manually press the buttons 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then I hit level 50. I switched my gear and oh, the stat boost is insane. The jump from level 50 to 55 is amazing. Forget having to turn in scripts, just buy vendor gear, or have your friends buy it for you. I processed all the raw materials. I went to the station hub and started feeding the mats into the machine. One by one, I got the shark parts I needed. Moreover, each time I pushed progress on the shark part, I got experience. My blacksmith and armor shot from 55 to 60 with these subs. Better still, each step I did rolled in RNG. That saved me materials. This was amazing. This was great. I was running a high. All I needed to do was fine-tune anything I hadn't hammered out or miscalculated. That was it. The first sub was done, and I was going to finish the other 3 tonight. There was just one problem. I'd run out of crystal shards. Oops. Getting late. I could stop, back out, farm the crystals, pick up the job the next day, or I could open my wallet. I had 1.7 million gil. Sure, that would be enough. And thanks to Universalis, I was able to hunt down the best deals on crystals, clusters, or it ended up being the biggest hurdle. As I hammered away, making ingot after ingot, I had to run out to both the market board for more cobalt ore and to the Amalja tribe where I could buy more steel. It was just back and forth, back and forth. It was like constantly running out of eggs. You would go out, buy a carton of eggs, come back, realize you didn't buy enough eggs, and have to run out from work because surely that's gonna be the last trip you need to make. Honestly, I kept teleporting so often I probably should have just activated the teleport reduction action. That would have saved me some trouble. Then, faster I could believe, my funds were depleting. I was turning the pieces out, but oh my god, my money was gone. I got subs 2 done, I got sub 3 done. There were just 4 more pieces. I was so close. I went out and farmed my own cobalt ore just to save whatever little I could. But then, realized that the biggest error I had made was my lack of darksteel. Even with the high rolls, even with all the prep, even with the garland tools and advice of my elders, I'd miscounted how much darksteel I needed to mine. Darksteel comes exclusively from timed nodes, meaning that I was stuck waiting no matter what in order to finish that last sub. But then, at the last minute, help arrived. My friend, the one I'd been adventuring with, offered to give me all the darksteel she'd been hoarding. She'd done what I'd done and leveled her gatherers for no other reason than because it was a fun little pastime. She loved setting an alarm and just going out and collecting darksteel every time it came up. When we met at Gardania, she gave me 700 pieces of darksteel ore. I was floored. Absolutely floored. I went home, got to work. 1, 2, 3, and that was it. All 4 submarines were done. I had all the dive credits, all the cerulean tanks. I was ready to send these babies out. And then I found out that you can only send out 1 until you unlock the rest. If I'd known that, I would have handcrafted the first sub forever ago. I launched the SS Get Along and went out to my porch to call it a day. Well, that was fun. Guess I better go back to my main account now. When I went back to my main account, it felt empty. Half of my job icons were gone. My inventory was barren. The macros I made, the little optimizations of my hotbar, and all the little side quests I hadn't touched yet, the massive amount of treasure maps that I'd been sitting on because my wife had gathered so many before she retired, it was just so different from the game that I'd been playing up to that point. I'd only ever played at the game's pace, not my own. At the time of this writing, I'd been watching a lot of Josh Strife videos. He reviews MMOs over on his channel, and while I don't watch every single video, I really enjoyed his reaction to one of his older videos, titled Why Modern MMOs Suck. In the original video, Josh posits that the reason MMOs suck is because they hand everything to the player and don't make them work for the rewards. Everything's too convenient. If you want to recreate the glory of RuneScape and WoW, you have to deliberately play it inefficiently and do things the hard way to get that feeling of satisfaction. That's what he says in the old video.
But I think in general, convenience, especially for money, has definitely increased. That's without a doubt. Convenience for money has absolutely increased.
Then they'll leave and forever roam the world looking for another MMORPG to recapture the feeling of magic from the first, never realizing the feeling of magic wasn't ever coming from the game. It was the feeling you got for overcoming obstacles and achieving something in the face of adversity.
And having done my own grind on Thamora, I can definitely say there's some truth to that. But what really struck me was Josh's reaction. His thoughts after having 3 more years of experience.
I like the fact that I said you didn't have a good time years ago because the game gave you everything. Quite the opposite, and what I should have said was, you had a good time because you gave the game everything. That would have been so much better in this video. That would have worked. You gave it your time, you gave it your love, you gave it your guild, your community, your clan, your passion. You gave it your attention. You gave it the best years of your life. And in return, it gave you a decent adventure.
Remember Wrath Games? He put out a similar video of his panel at LunarCon 2023 titled Reject Sanity, Embrace Stupidity. In that video, he talks about finding something that you, the player, will have fun with, even if it sounds completely ridiculous.
And when we're sat here together with whatever the heck is going on, whether it's we just got a brand new patch or Dawn Trail is released or whatever, if you log into the game and you sit there and you think, I'm on Final Fantasy XIV, and then you log out. That's not something wonderful. That's almost kind of a... That's muscle memory. You're coming in because it's the routine. Or consider, what if instead you took the opportunity to do something to make you smile?
Most people would say, oh, just blitz through MSQ, wait to level your crafters until you unlock the firmament. That way you can just zoom from 1 to 90. And sure, maybe that is the most efficient way. But it was satisfying to level everything up with what I had on hand, with Leave quests, with the Ixali quests. I'd only ever reached out to play with friends to raid because that was the only way I knew how to play the game. Crafting, homemaking, fishing? I wasn't here to play house, I wanted to fight! I was here for tough fights, cool raid mechanics, and to finally reach the vaunted endgame that eluded me in every other MMO I had ever played. All I wanted to do was climb the mountain of main story quest. I just had to keep going. It's just a little further, and I can play the real game that everyone keeps talking about. I want to get to the good part.
Focus on the MSQ for now.
I don't want to spoil anything. Just wait till Shadowbringers.
I know it's boring now, but at level 86, you get this trait called Elemental Mastery.
We did everything right! Everything that was asked of us, and still it came to this!
Why? Why do I have to wait? Why do I have to spend all my time reading a bunch of cutscenes I don't care about just to catch up to everyone else? Why does the top of that mountain have to feel so empty and lonely?
It's horrible. I know it sounds really cheesy, but the magic genuinely was the friends we made along the way.
As cheesy as it is, it really is that simple. I ran through MSQ because I wanted to play with my friends, but writing this all out has taught me that I could have played with them any time I wanted. What I needed was to be more open about the things that I could do at my level, and to be willing to find more people to do them with. That's right, you actually have to go out of your house and talk to people. You can't just hole up inside crafting steel ingots all day. Maybe if I'd known about Palace of the Dead, maybe if I'd been more willing to catch the ocean cruise or mess around in the gold saucer, blue mage, hunt trains, tribe quests, vents, relics. There's so much to do and I ignored them all. But since then, I've seen more creators embracing the silly. Cider Spider's another YouTuber who's been posting videos logging his progress on achievement hunting. Renan has been doing deep dungeon solo runs and maniacally crafting relic weapons within the span of a single day. You can have so much fun if you go out, pick a thing you want to do, and just do it! This was exactly why I created Thermora to begin. Most of the fun I've had has been because of everyone that I've been helping, and everyone who's helped me in return. It's been from asking questions, learning about different systems in the game, exchanging favors, meeting up, hanging out, sharing our mutual brain rot, or a really good game. When I started this alt, someone told me I'd get sick of walking. But the truth is, walking really isn't so bad when you have someone to talk to along the way. Even if it takes over 500 hours to get there. At this point, I want to thank you, the viewer, for making it all the way to the end of this video. I've been wanting to tell the more story for a while, and I'm glad to have finally shared it. I want to give a shout out to the creators mentioned in this video for inspiring me to just get it out there, and another thank you for everyone who helped me put this together. If you want to see more videos like this, drop a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get the notification for when the next one comes out. And I'll see you next time. Same hero time, same hero channel. Good night, everyone!